Hello everyone. I would like to talk about agile development today. So, in short, agile development um, based on the based on an interactive incremental, where the requirements or user requirements and solutions rapidly changes during the collaborations in the team. So there are many agile methods, but we are going to talk about two of them, which is the most popular one, which are the extreme programming and the Scrum. So what is extreme programming or XP? In XP or extreme programming, client or customer work closely with the development team, and they explain their requirement in user stories. All the team member consists of project manager and development teams are in equal position, and development teams estimate, plan, and deliver the user story or transform the user stories from the customer into a task that the development team has to do with that. And in each iterations, it's estimate around 1 to 3 weeks. So in extreme programming, there are some value where all of the development teams need to get on with it, which is simplicity. So we just need to do what tasks that we actually need to do. Communications. In the extreme programming, everyone is a part of the team, including the customer. Need face-to-face and daily communications among the team members. Feedback. Feedback is used to deliver the product as early as possible. Because the product is delivered earlier, then we can get the feedback earlier in order to avoid the late changes of the requirement or the feature of the product. And then according to the feedback, we can make a changes. Every types of changes when it is considered to be needed to improve the quality of the product in order to meet the customer or the client requirement. Because the client is actually inside the teams, the developer teams, the development teams can get the feedback immediately, and then they can adjust the delivered product according to the very early feedback from the client. Respect. All team members is honorable. Courage. Telling the truth about the progress and the estimation. So never overestimate or underestimate. So telling the truth is always the best. Everyone has to have a courage to say the truth about their progress and their estimation, even when the estimation is missing, for example. Okay. So secondly, we are going to talk about Scrum. Scrum has been popularized by Jeff Sutherland in the early 1990, and it was developed and improved by another researcher, Saber and Bido. In principle, Scrum is one of the components of Agile methodology, where the collaboration between teams is very important. Scrum underlines that all the team member has the same physical locations or very good online connection between them, and also they are engage each other. And in Scrum, we need to face-to-face meeting every day between all the team members. Scrum define itself describes the method as a flexible development strategy where all the team members work as one unit, one working unit to achieve the common goal between all of the team members. So it is very important to underline that in a Scrum team, everyone has to share the goal. There are some key principles in the Scrum. First one is that the client can change their requirement and their needs in every stage of the project, every time. This is a fact that during the development, usually the client has a new idea and then they want to change the requirement. However, in the old or the traditional methods such as the waterfall, the changes, the immediate changes in the middle of the development process cannot be adapted easily in the traditional framework like waterfall. Therefore, in Scrum, we need to deal with that problem. So Scrum can accommodate every changes by maximize all of the team member to respond to the requirement changes. So this is the illustration of how the traditional development framework, waterfall, for example, where in the beginning the the stakeholder like the customer manager, the worker in the customer or in the client work very early with the project manager and the sponsors to define their requirements, and then they put all of the requirements in a document usually called as software requirement specification, and it is produced in a very early stage, and the project where all of them, the stakeholder and the project manager and the system analyst, made in the first time, and the time for dividing the requirement is different from the time when the software itself gonna be developed. So if you see here, in this stage, the stakeholder and the project manager and the analyst, system analyst work to define how the system gonna work, what is the feature that they are want to be exist in the software, and then this is the milestone and the task. We put it in the software requirement specification, and then the project manager will bring this document to the development process, which is here. Sorry. Yeah, which is here. So there's a very clear distinction between the dividing of the requirements and the development process. Therefore, when let's say this was done in the first and the second month of the project, and then this was done in the third to the 8th or the 10th month after that, and then in the middle of the way that the manager think that there still need to be changes in certain requirements, and then of course the project manager and the developer won't be able to respond that needs. So this is the problem of the traditional development framework, and you can see with the modern software development management or modern framework, this is the stakeholder. They work daily with the product owner and the scrum master and then the Scrum and the team, they work in exactly the same time, and every time they just define a product backlog, a product backlog, or simply the requirement of a very small part of the systems, and then at the same time the Scrum Master gonna deliver those requirements to be done by the development team. So this is just very this is short, what we call it iterations, and in that iterations, um, because the value about the changes, the principle about changes, that every time these guys, the stakeholder, can change their mind, and then every time they change their mind, then it's straight away responded by the Scrum Master and delivered to the teams. And the teams has to respond that changes. Therefore, what we hope, what we expect is that the final products, the small part of the final product, will be able to fulfill the user requirements. Okay. Okay.